Season 3, Episode 12. It's the Cup of Mets podcast. I'm Ian Bosniak. We'll be joined momentarily by Robert Venegas and Matthew DeSantis. In today's episode, we'll discuss the scorching New York Mets, who have won 11 of their last 15, fresh off of a 5-1 homestand, including a 3-game sweep of the San Diego Padres, who they're trying to chase in the wildcard standings. They are now just 1.5 games out. We'll discuss how much we actually believe and how the Mets proceed as we move towards the trade deadline. We were thinking we were sellers a week ago. Now we're a little bit more on the opposite end. So we'll talk about all angles. But before we dive into the positivity now that's surrounding the New York Mets, remember to give us a follow on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Be sure to visit cupofmets.com for all your favorite merch. And last but not least, be sure to download that SeatGeek app, punch in code Cup of Mets at first purchase to receive $20 off. And with that, episode 12, let's do it. All right, gentlemen. So the Mets are hot. I mentioned it in the intro. They took 2 of 3 from Miami and swept the San Diego Padres, who were in a wild card spot. They still hold that third spot. Now they're a game below 500, but the Mets are now 33 and 37. Matt, you and I spoke last week, and we referenced that we wanted the Mets to do a certain thing in the week prior leading up to that episode. And then I think we mentioned, hey, we want the club to face Miami, sweep Miami, and at least take 2 of 3 from San Diego. It was the reverse. Boys, they're hot. Matt, what's been working so well for them that you've seen so far?
They've been hitting the fucking baseball like they're supposed to as professional baseball players, you know? Seriously, the bats are on fire. They look good. JD Martinez is looking like the guy that we paid the money for. So overall the team I think is it's they're starting to click. I mean, but it's also June 16 and I don't know but also happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there
Oh, I forgot that one. Yeah.
that listen to our podcast. Hope everyone had a great day. But like I said, it's June 16th. I I would have loved to see a little more fire out of the team before this players only meeting, but it looks like a lot came from that. So I can't complain right now. Do I think the team's playing great baseball right now? Of course, absolutely. Their pitching staff has been playing well. The bullpen's been great. Their bats have been on fire. They just took 3 out of 3 from San Diego, which is a pretty good ball club. So but they have to keep this going. They have to keep this going.
I think that when you look up and down the roster, right, you're getting contributions from the offense. You mentioned JD Martinez, Francisco Lindor's hitting. Brandon Nimmo's finally started to come alive. He's not only getting on base now, he's also hitting the ball with more authority. Harrison Bader's contributing. Tyrone Taylor had that 4-hit game the other night. Jose Iglesias, when he's played, I mean, Jeff McNeil's the only guy that hasn't hit, and we'll discuss that in a second, but they finally got Francisco Alvarez back, right? And I think that even though that's on a different side of the baseball, you already see like the impact that Alvarez is making behind the plate. Him and Luis Torrens, they're really taking control of the pitching staff. And I don't know, that to me, that's been something that's been extremely encouraging, let alone the offensive explosion that we've seen from guys like Martinez and Lindor. But I don't know. This just looks like a completely different ball club. And it's funny too, because after the players only meeting, they dropped that game right after, and we were all saying, oh, what good did that meeting do? Hey, they've won 11 of their last 15. They're looking like a different ball club right now.
Yeah, I agree. Trust me, they don't look like the regular Mets. They're putting up runs, and you know what? That's what wins ball games and good pitching. So, I mean, our rotation is the furthest thing from the best. They're the furthest thing from even top 10 in
Yeah,
Major
keep
League
going.
Baseball.
Keep going. Further.
20, maybe even 25. Like they're like, but realistically, for what we have, we're playing decent baseball right now. But like I said, they have to keep going. What do you think, Robbie?
No, I think one name you guys forgot to mention was definitely Starling Marte.
Oh yeah.
Over his last 15 games, he's hitting 370. He's obviously his glove hasn't been there this year, and it's kind of disappointing because, again, it looks bad sometimes, and it's like kind of crazy because he was pretty good in 2022 and when he was healthy, and he has a great arm, but at the dish, he's always been my X factor, and at the dish, obviously it shows. He's really helping lengthen out the lineup, and obviously you said it, and you guys hit it on the head. Francisco Alvarez is back, makes our lineup even deeper. And honestly, Stearns and company, they did a great job, man. They made the moves necessary. They're basically him and Mendoza are basically telling players, hey, if you don't perform, then you're not going to be here, man. So, and that's what I love to see, a little gritty, a little grit, a little fight, and we're right there in the wild card race.
I can't believe I forgot to mention Marte because Marte has been so good. Even you mentioned his
So
last
crucial.
so
So crucial to these wins.
not only him and what he does on the field, but him. And I think the Mets have done a good job with giving him a day off here and there, given his injury history, given his age and the position that he plays. But him going out there every day, contributing, he made an amazing catch today. Granted,
Yeah.
his defense has been abysmal this season. The arm is still there, as you mentioned, Rob. But even again, just hitting 299 over his last 30 games, 281 overall, for qualified hitters for the Mets. He has the highest batting average. JD,
Yeah.
JD Martinez is hitting 293, but he doesn't have enough ABs. Mark Vientos has hit well, but again, a guy like Starling Marte has been so crucial. And I also, Rob, what you said, the collaboration between David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza, saying to guys, hey, listen, if you're not gonna perform, you're not gonna play. I mean, we saw Tomas Nido get DFA'd. Granted, he wasn't playing terribly. It was just a roster decision, but we saw them make a difficult decision. 12 years in the organization, and Nido, he's gone. Terren stayed. They also obviously got rid of the likes of Omar Narvaez and Joey Wendell, and they moved Adrian Hauser to the bullpen. They're not messing around with some of these moves that they're making, and I think that is such a different. I want to say that the Mets are straying away from their norm, right? Because they normally give players 1 million chances, and I think the Mets have said to themselves, yeah, this may be in our heads a transition season, but we got to get the best bang for our buck, and we got to get these guys on the field and give ourselves the best chance to win.
Yeah.
And
And that's a great thing because they're realizing when these guys are shitting the bed and they're terrible, they're like, okay, we're not just gonna keep rolling these guys out. And that's great because they're identifying when players aren't doing well, they're gonna swap you out. You won't be here. And that's why, earlier today we tweeted out DJ Stewart. I think his line is gonna be really fucking short. I think Ritter, there's a AAA bat that's very close to pushing him off the fucking roster. So, we got to see. They've been playing great baseball, but that hasn't been because of DJ Stewart. So,
yeah, and obviously winning 2 of 3 against Miami was good. You would have wanted a sweep. Miami's the worst team in the NL East, but taking 2 out of 3 was the bare minimum. 2 out of the 3 victories against the Padres, though, were really, actually all 3 were really good for the organization. Not only get wins, but on Saturday you look at the pitching matchup and you go, I mean, I almost went to the game and I almost went solo dolo, and I said to myself, I'm not paying that money. Ticket prices were rising, all because of a Hawaiian T-shirt. Wasn't going to do it. Wasn't going to bake out in the sun to watch a Jose Quintana pitch, and he fucking dealt. And he dealt. Someone that we, have been shitting on every single week, especially me. I've been calling for him to get DFA'd since day one. He goes out and tosses 6 innings of 1-run ball, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. And then obviously today, I think the most encouraging thing to me was the Mets were up 7-1. The Padres came back and made it 7-6. And then the Mets went ahead and put up a 4 spot in the ninth inning to completely take the Padres out of the game. I think that's something that in May or even late April, let's say, we weren't seeing from this ball club whatsoever.
Yeah, again, it's the fight, it's the grit, it's the offense clicking, and again, kudos to the bullpen for keeping us in games now, and it's good to see Edwin Diaz have that 9th inning to shut down the Padres that one night. But you mentioned a guy like Adrian Hauser. I saw today on SNY that his ERA is like a 1.8 out of the bullpen, and that's another name that you guys been calling to like axe from the
He's
majors.
Dude, his ERA is almost in the fives.
I never said to axe him from the fucking majors. I said to get him the fuck out of the rotation because he was giving up 9 runs before you even got into the building.
Yeah,
So
actually, that's funny you said
I
that.
I
Yeah.
never fucking came for his
No,
neck.
yeah.
But I
We were
said,
running
get his
late.
ass out of the
Yeah.
rotation.
There was one game we went to in April, late April. We were running late, and Hauser gave up a 5 spot in the first inning.
Yeah,
Bad
and
words.
In
we
the
were on the
YouTube video,
boardwalk.
Yeah.
in that the Instagram video, you're like,
We're on the boardwalk. Yeah,
he's like, Rob, so what do you think about Adrian Hauser? Well, he already gave up a bunch of runs before I could even get into the stadium.
Yeah.
exactly. And
No, but Ian, to piggyback off what you were saying though, that like the Mets are shying away from their norm. I think it's the culture change. David Stearns is obviously communicating with Mendoza and company, and Steve Cohen is, doing what's necessary for the team. I don't think money's an issue anymore. Obviously, like back then they wouldn't cut a guy because they paid him this amount of money in free agency. Now that's obviously different. It's not the case anymore. But at the end of the day, it's good to see. I like that they're competing now, and again, you know, keep it up. And you made another great point where they almost basically gave up the lead, but and the old Mets would have folded and lose that game. But this new look lineup put up 4 runs in the bottom of the eighth inning, and they solidified the sweep. So it's good to see.
last thing on the Padres series that I wanted to mention was you almost kind of see what Mendoza's doing in a strategic fashion, which I loved, especially with the bullpen, which has been so leaky as of late. Yes, as Rob alluded to, Edwin Diaz got his first save back since the beginning of May. But in Sean Manaea's start on Friday night, he only went 5 innings. He did strike out 7, but he had a high pitch count. Then he went to Adam Ottavino for an inning and 2/3, put him in a completely different uh, circumstance in a game, and he struck out 2, didn't allow a run. Brought in Jake Diekman. Diekman walked 1, but got the final out in the 7th inning. Then went to Sean Reed Foley, whose ERA is down to 177 as the 8th inning man, followed by Edwin Diaz. And in my head, I was like, that's brilliant, because then you go into Saturday with Quintana, and obviously that had to work to perfection in order for me to say that it was brilliant. But then you go to Saturday and you say to yourself, oh, you have a Jose Quintana starting. You're not really sure what you're going to get. They left themselves Daniel Nunez, Reed Garrett. Jake Diekman only recorded 1 out the day before, so Jake Diekman would have been available. Adrian Hauser, like, you just saw the writing on the wall in the sense of how, and you also Drew Smith, another one. You saw how Mendoza was setting himself up not only for that game, but also thinking ahead to Saturday to, seal that victory as well. So really, really nice. And then again today, Tyler McGill didn't have his A stuff. He hasn't really had his A stuff since returning. However, he did pick up his second win of the year, went 5 innings, struck out 5, walked 2, gave up 2. So again, extremely encouraging. The Mets are only 1.5 games out of the wild card. But again, it's extremely realistic. Don't get me wrong, but given the state of the National League and all of the teams that are in the bunch, a little bit, it's not too early to get excited, because I think that we're all more positive and optimistic than we were in weeks past. But there's still the Cubs, the Pirates, the Reds, the Giants, the Diamondbacks, the Nationals that the Mets have to jump ahead of. With that said, they're all within a game. So it's definitely something to look into. Rob, what do you make of Edwin Diaz coming back? We'll just talk about the pitching quickly. What do you make of Edwin Diaz's return, his electric save on Friday night? What do you see? I mean, that slider to get the final out was amazing. That drop, his fastball up to 99, 100. Not sure if it's the weather being more humid, but what are you seeing from Edwin? What's making you feel like he might be the Edwin Diaz of old?
No, definitely. The velocity is back. He hit 100 for the first time since his left knee surgery. Again, which is a good sign. I really think, just from body language and how his pitches were moving in the beginning, like his slider was flat and his fastball velo wasn't there. I really think it's good that the Mets caught this shoulder impingement sooner rather than later. And again, he got right. He pitched a couple innings in Brooklyn and, just figured some shit out. And now he's back. I truly believe he's back to normal Edwin Diaz. That slider's looking nasty once again. He's throwing it on 3-2, full counts, having trust in it. And then, the fastball velo's there. So it's one save opportunity. I'm sure he'll get more. As I would like for him to pile up a little more saves, now that he's fully in that closer role again. But it's good to see, and I think it brings a little life to the bullpen as well and the team in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Edwin is a very big piece on our team at $20 million a year, and we need him to play like we know he can. And I mean, I don't really think he was hurt. That was some phantom IL shit.
Yeah.
They needed to get him a little mind break and go down to triple A, double A and single A, whatever on his rehab assignments and strike out some 19-year-olds. So
Yeah.
I think Edwin will be A-okay. But they just got to keep it rolling, man. They got to keep it rolling.
Well, if the league ever comes to the Mets and say, "Hey, you pulling some Phantom IL shit," they can just turn to the velo and say, "Listen, he was throwing 95 to 97 before, and now he's pumping 99, 100. There was definitely a problem there." So
Yeah.
that's definitely something that they can point to. But that backdoor slider to whoever the hell it was, whoever made the final out on Friday, that was just cream of the crop, Edwin Diaz, and for him to allow the first runner to get on base, being how he had been the entire season, to be able to collect himself and seal the deal was really, really encouraging and something that we can only hope continues as the season goes on. Daniel Nunez continues to thrive out of the bullpen. He is gaining Mendoza's trust more and more by the day. He now has 26 strikeouts and 17 and two-thirds of an inning, pitching to a 2.04 ERA in 11 games. I think that he's a stud. He's a stud. He's got swing and miss stuff. He's got 3 or 4 pitches that he can command for strikes, and he pitches like every game is his last. And I know that may sound cheesy, that may sound corny, but every game it just looks to him like he embraces it, that he goes out there with a chip on his shoulder trying to prove something. I love what I've seen from Daniel Nunez. A lot of people were saying when I posted a graphic on Instagram saying that Daniel Nunez is hot right now, a lot of people were saying Danny Young was hot as well. Yeah, that's what the Mets have been dealing with. They've been dealing with some interesting scenarios on the big league level, but Daniel Nunez just has been tremendous, and I've absolutely loved what I've seen from Daniel thus far, and he's provided such a jolt for the Mets bullpen that has needed it in such a crucial time of the season.
Yeah, and I think getting Daniel Nunez back from San Francisco, because for a little context, he was selected in the Rule 5 draft by San Francisco a few years ago, then got released, which gets you returned back to your original team. So realistically, they saw his high upside in his early 20s, but he didn't really prove anything for San Francisco, which we're lucky he got returned to us. But now he looks really fucking good. He deserves the spot. You keep him on that team. You got to.
Right. And when you look at his four seamer, he's really throwing for strikes. And that's the big thing. He's a strike thrower. He gets ahead of hitters. He's able to put away hitters on the slider away. And then also that sinking fastball, he's thrown for strikes. And the changeup just kind of dives down. He doesn't throw the changeup at a high clip, neither with the sinker. But again, he sets himself up to be in a position to throw those pitches as well. And he's also thrown a curveball this year as well. So he's got 5 pitches at his disposal. But if you also look at some of his advanced metrics, I mean, if he was qualified, he's in the great category, baseball savant in chase percentage, whiff percentage, K percentage, walk percentage. So he's not letting guys on base. He's striking people out. He's getting the outs that are needed, and he has been absolutely terrific. And I don't think anyone saw this coming, but we'll take it given the state of the bullpen. Moving on to the offense, we mentioned it at the beginning, but JD Martinez is tearing the cover off the ball. Over his last 7 games, he's hitting 400. He's got 3 home runs with 11 RBIs, has walked more than he's struck out, 6 walks to 4 strikeouts. He's now hitting 293 on the season with 8 home runs, 27 RBIs, and 164 ABs, 881 OPS. Obviously had the walk-off on Friday night, which was his first ever walk-off home run. And then he did have the 2 home runs on Saturday. What are we seeing from JD right now? Obviously, we've heard more and more, whether it be Steve Gelbs or Andy Martino, that he's also having a massive impact in the clubhouse as well. But JD Martinez is a bat in the middle of the Mets lineup that I feel like they've needed for several years now, and you're seeing it play out right now in a year that they're kind of competitive, but just kind of easing their way up there.
No, definitely. It's good to have another voice in the clubhouse. To not only be like a leader or a captain, but to help guys like Lindor out and Pete Alonso and even a Mark Vientos, just taking young guys under their wing, showing them how to be a pro. When he's at his best, he's driving the ball to right center. He's a low ball hitter, and he's really come up big for these Mets the last couple of games. And honestly, if he was on the team in 2022, maybe this season would have been even more successful than it was. But it's good to see that they're fighting still. He's kind of leading the way and helping the offense click.
Or maybe the offense would have looked different last year had the Mets not gone with Vogelbach and Ruff at DH to start the year and sign a JD Martinez, who is out on the market until the end of spring training, where the Dodgers picked him up. Little did the Dodgers need him, yet they added him. But no, he's been tremendous, getting on base at a 363 clip. I mean, everything and more that you could have asked for. As you're saying, you hit the nail on the head. You know that JD's right when he's taking that ball to right field, right center field, and he's been doing that with authority. He's also been laying off more of those curveballs and sliders that were away. He's always going to strike out at a high clip. Don't get us wrong. He's struck out as many as 178 times in a single season back in 2015. So he's definitely prone to the strikeouts, but he's been laying off those sliders and those curveballs away that have been enabling pitchers to have to throw more in the zone, whether it be down or up in the zone. And he's been taking full advantage of it. And it's really been awesome to see. Francisco Lindor, another one who has been playing extremely well, not only at the dish, but he made a really smooth play the other day. Did make an error today, but made a really smooth play yesterday up the middle. A nice little flip to McNeil. He's also doing damage on the base paths. Collected his 11th stolen base yesterday. He's up to 231 on the season with 12 home runs, 34 RBIs, 11 stolen bases. His OPS, which was around 660, 670, 680 for several weeks, literally up until a few weeks ago, is now at 725. So Lindor really turning things around. Matt, what have you seen from Francisco that has changed things for you? And not only that, what makes you think that it's a sustainable progression for Lindor? And how do you see it kind of unfolding as the season continues? Do you think that a Martinez, Lindor, Nimmo, Alonso is a strong enough core to kind of pull the offense in the direction it's going in?
All right, well, you just hit me with about 90 fucking things at once.
I
So
know. I don't even know
let
what
me
the
go.
fuck I
Let
don't
me.
even
You're
know what I
like
just said.
you're like here's 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. All
Yeah.
right, but pretty much, I think JD Martinez and well, let me talk about Lindor. You asked me about Lindor.
I don't even know what I asked you.
I say yeah. Neither do I actually. Lindor, I think, should stay at the top of the order at number one. I think he's looked electric at the top. I you I love Francisco Lindor. I don't understand any Mets fan that hates him. He's always a 30 for 30 guy. And he gives the Mets a jolt, you know. He gives them like the kind of swagger that they need, and his defense in the center is always the best. Pending that he made one error today, but whatever. But realistically, out of the top of the order, we need to we need to see consistency. We need to see like him at the top because we're winning. With don't don't a very old saying, don't fix something that's not broken. So keep the same lineup structure. I think if I was to change anything, I would send down Stewart because I think he has one more option left. I would have to find a 40-man spot for Luke Ritter. I would bring him up. You got to see what he has, bro. He hit 2 home runs at AAA today.
It's
One
becoming
the day
it's
before.
becoming a daily occurrence.
It's a daily tweet that we're sending out that Luke Ritter has hit another home run. So I think it's time to see what he's got in store. And realistically, these, like I said, the last episode, Ian, these next, I don't know, 2-3 weeks is going to be it's going to tell the whole season.
Absolutely. And
It's going to tell if we're buyers or sellers. So that's the whole season.
and it's crazy that we're even saying if we're buyers or sellers, because a couple weeks ago we were sell, sell, sell. And I know that Rob brought up Starling Marte before. Marte's been a cog, and I think that what you said, alluding to the lineup construction, Lindor 1, Nimmo 2, Martinez 3, Alonso 4. That's been working, right? Once Francisco Alvarez starts hitting, that lengthens the lineup out even further. You have, even if DJ Stewart's playing, I know that he's definitely DFA accessible, right? And he's definitely the next one to be cut. But we'd all be lying if we said that he doesn't get on base, right? He does offer something, and that's why he's remained on the Mets, right? So even if he's in the middle of the order, then you also have Starling Marte who's hitting the ball. Mark Vientos is hitting the ball. Jose Iglesias, if he's in the game, who I think Jose Iglesias should be playing every day. I'm done with Jeff McNeil.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's just my type of thing. I really like the lineup construction, and I like what I've been seeing from Lindor, Martinez, even a guy like Brandon Nimmo. Nimmo looked absolutely lost at the dish for weeks and weeks on end. The power hasn't been there, but over his last 7 games, 300, 340 on base percentage, 367 slugging percentage, 4 RBIs. So he's another guy that's getting on base. He's going the opposite field as well. He's driving in runs. He's driven in 3 runs over the last 2 days. So having Martinez and Lindor and Nimmo and all of them kind of go at once, it shows you how potent this lineup can be. We just need a guy like Pete Alonso, who did hit his 15th home run today. We need him to be a little bit more consistent. He's been struggling as of recent. Over his last 7, he's only hit 143. Is in a really, really bad rut. Rob, anything from Alonso that you're seeing that is catching your eye in the sense of why he may be struggling the way he is?
Um, I mean, again, stretches like this are going to happen throughout the course of a season. It's actually funny. I was talking to someone at the brewery over the weekend and saying that I used to like drop what I was doing whenever Pete Alonso would come up to the dish, whether runners on or not. He was that type of hitter. Now I look at Pete Alonso and I'm just like, like, I look the other way, or I just know what's going to happen. It looks like he's just trying to get too pull happy. He's at his best when he's hitting at all fields, like, when he's hitting doubles in the right center field gap and then just bombing home runs pull side just like he did today. I think seeing that today is obviously not like, again, it's gonna heat him up, but it might get him going. I do like the new top 4 of the lineup. I always believe Brandon Nimmo was a 2-hitter. And Alonso 4 now, and JD Martinez 3. You know it's a good wake up call for Pete as well.
Sure. And I think we can all agree, collectively speaking, the names that we've mentioned, the lineup is getting deeper. So my question to you guys, as the Mets become more competitive, as they rise in the standings and hopefully take some more of these upcoming series, the one piece in that lineup that is really, really struggling is Jeff McNeil. Okay. The guy's got a 600 OPS.
Yeah.
Six,
And what do you
600
expect, bro? What do you expect? He sucks.
Okay. All right. So here's my thing. Him hitting 222 through 225 ABs. Former batting title winner, 2-time All-Star. I'm going to ask Rob because Matt just tipped his cap. We already know where he's going on this, but
No, but you're gonna ask, what do you want to do with him?
no, not what we're going to do.
There's nothing to do with him.
No,
Nobody's
okay.
taking Jeff.
I'm not saying what we're going to do with him, because nobody's going to take on that money unless we do a shit deal for a shit deal type of trade, right? But how long does Jeff McNeil have to prove himself? I mean, obviously, if everybody else is hitting, then the Mets can go with one guy that's suffering. But when a guy like Jose Iglesias is going out there and taking advantage of every opportunity he has, I mean, he got an AB against the Marlins on the 11th and got a hit in his 1 AB. They've given the time back to McNeil. He's continued to struggle. And then you got a guy like Jose Iglesias on the bench through 23 ABs. He's got a 435 average. So, Rob, how long does Jeff McNeil have in your eyes if you were Mendoza and Stearns?
I mean, again, I like that Mendoza's, giving him a vote of confidence by always saying that he's our second baseman. I do believe he still is our second baseman. He's gotten better defensively. But overall at the dish, he just, like you said, he hasn't looked good. He's batting last for a reason. Not that it matters because you're in the starting 9, but I think as time goes on and if he continues to struggle, they'll just platoon. He'll be like that sub that comes out in defensive replacements and when Mendoza wants to mix and match later on in the game and again, and who knows? I'll give him another 2 weeks before we hit the beginning of July. 2-3 weeks. He's gotta he's into his new role now, and we'll see how it goes.
Maddie?
What about me? You want to ask about jumping in on me?
Yeah, I
I
do.
don't
Can you
know.
give me anything more concrete aside from that he sucks? 'Cause
Yeah,
we
sure.
know
You
we know
got it.
that already.
You got it. He should have been traded 2 years ago. I think that he has no plate discipline. He's swinging at pitches that are out of the fucking strike zone. He looks like he's swinging a golf club. How many things do you want me to say about how bad this guy looks? He looks terrible.
I
He
saw
goes,
I saw that he took a visit over to the Cricket World Cup, and I felt as if that would be a perfect place for him to play because of the swing when you have to come
yeah,
straight
yeah,
up. That's like a Jeff McNeil swing.
exactly. And then, you know what? I'm so tired of watching the same shit from him. Like, come on, man. He used to be so disciplined at the plate, and now he shows nothing of that. Like,
He's a
That's the
he's a
funny
big
part
hit
about
'em
it.
where they ain't type of guy.
Yeah,
we
that's the
got
funny.
lucky with Jeff McNeil, though. He was somebody that was a nobody and comes up this right before Pete Alonso and shreds it apart. Um,
But
we
it's
got
funny.
lucky with him.
The first few things that you said about him not having plate discipline, him swinging at pitches out of the strike zone, it's just humorous that we're talking about this pertaining to Jeff McNeil because that's not who Jeff McNeil was.
Yeah.
And he has developed into that type of hitter over the last 2 years, and it's really sad to see. And you know that he's a guy that enjoys being a Met, loves playing the game, but he also just kind of seems disinterested at times. And and obviously we all know that he gets in his head. He's cursing at himself 24/7. But
Yeah.
again, a name that we brought up earlier on, Luke Ritter, he predominantly plays second base. He also plays a little bit of outfield. The guy has a 903 OPS at AAA Syracuse. There's nothing else that the kid can do.
He leads the Mets minors in home runs. What
Yeah,
else do you want to see?
he's got 16 home runs and 50 ribbies through 222 ABs.
Yeah.
I mean, so then obviously the casualty would be Stewart, and you would keep, and because Ritter can play a little bit of outfield, and then you would keep Iglesias as your up the middle or utility infielder. And McNeil would obviously also be your utility infielder as well. But the Mets can mix and match. But I know that DJ Stewart also is a big cog in that locker room as well. I know a lot of the players really love him. So there's definitely some complexities with that. But I don't know how much longer the Mets can continue to trot out Jeff McNeil because even when I'm seeing the Mets face a right-handed pitcher whenever they play, I don't want McNeil in the lineup. I would rather Iglesias. Iglesias has hit right-handed pitching before. It's not like you have to platoon everyone and everything. So I don't know. Lastly, boys, we've been talking about the positivity and the optimism surrounding the Mets winning 11 of their last 15, only a game and a half out of the wild card, this, that, and the third. Are we believing?
I'll let Robbie answer that first. Because he thinks we're fucking negative Nancy's over here.
You guys are negative Nancy's. All you
No,
talked about in May
we're
was trade, trade, trade.
but
We're
we're
3 games in.
realistic fans, bro. Like we're realistic.
We're realistic, Raymond.
Give me three
Well,
good
we're realistically
reasons
1.5
why
games
you
out of the
think
wild card.
though. Okay, all right, and I understand that we're a
8 and
game
2
and
in
a
our
half out of the
last 10.
wild card. Give me three. Give me two good reasons why you think that this Mets team could compete for not only just a playoff spot but a championship.
Well, again, you see what they're capable of throughout this stretch. So, again, and it's a very long season. Obviously, they're not going to just say, "Yeah, we believe we're still going to compete." Da da da. If and Stearns and company, and if they knew they weren't going to compete. So
But do you think their rotation is good enough to go up
no,
against the
no, no.
best
I
of the
mean,
best?
listen. They're doing well right now. Severino looks good. Throughout this stretch, they've looked better with Alvarez behind there, but again, you got to put yourselves in their shoes come July when if we're right there in the thick of things, then maybe they trade for an arm or
But
two. You never know.
what kind
I
of
think
a
Christian Scott should be up though. I don't know why.
What kind of a prospect are you sending out to bring somebody in? Like, I'm not
Oh, I have no
going
idea.
all in
I
at this
don't know.
deadline. I'm
No,
not giving away good players here.
so
No, of course not. But again, you got to see. Again, we'll talk in a month or two, and we'll see if we're still in the same position. You know, they could just be dragging us back in and spit us back out. But when you're 1.5 games back,
they've
the whole
never
National League is struggling. It's not even the All-Star break yet. Like,
the Mets have never dragged us back in and spit us back out. Come on now.
mhm.
They don't do that.
We just swept San Diego.
Now
So
listen,
Yeah,
I
I mean,
I
but they're
Matt,
also not as good as people portray them to be.
I'm gonna actually so I I have a I
we're
this
also
it's kind of
playing like our easy part of the schedule. Sorry, that's my
yeah.
last rebuttal. I'm done.
No, but it's kind of like a double-edged sword for me because Matt, you asked Rob to give you two reasons why you think that the Mets can compete, and it's like I think that there are two reasons, and I'll tell you in a second. But
Okay.
then I also agree with you on the fact of I don't know if this is the deadline that I want to go all out and trade this, that, and the third because
Absolutely not.
because I think that there are going to be 10 to 15 to 20 prospects that the Mets are going to say, we are not trading them whatsoever. Doesn't matter who it is. This is not the year to do it, this, that, and the third. But when you talk about the question that you asked Rob before, okay, just dropped my water bottle. Sorry. JD Martinez,
Yeah.
what he's doing right now, he did last year in LA. He had a much deeper lineup around him, but he did that in LA and then some. He's done this throughout the course of his career. He can keep it up. Pete Alonso has not gotten hot yet. Okay. He goes on a tear. He can charge the lineup. Francisco Lindor appears to be riding the ship, and not only riding the ship, but he appears to be looking as if he's going to end up in that 250 to 260, 25 plus home runs, 80 to 90 ribby, 5 plus war, whatever it is. Okay. Vientos is looking like he's developing into a player. Alvarez hasn't gotten hot at the dish. If you call up a guy like Luke Ritter, you could fill a void at second base, right? I don't think the offense is a problem whatsoever. I actually think that the offense has not shown what it's capable of. And I think that we can all agree they have not shown what they're capable of. So there's one thing. The second thing is that if the Mets get better starting pitching, which we've seen recently, the bullpen isn't as taxed. And Mendoza can go about the bullpen usage more strategically speaking. Now, if the Mets want to go ahead and not only get a wild card spot, but win a World Series or compete for a World Series, they need Kodai Senga to come back, who did indeed throw his second bullpen today. And next
One arm. There's your one arm. And I didn't say
Yep.
we have to go all in.
And most likely he will throw to live hitters next time he's out on the bump. Therefore, he's a step closer.
It's an ace type pitcher, bro.
We're looking at months for Kadai, guys. We're looking at months.
Okay. But then the other thing is the Mets could go ahead to a team. And I guess the difficult part about trading when there are so many teams competing is that there are so many teams that are trying to buy, right? And so the price tags are high. But the stock hasn't completely fallen off for a guy like Kevin Parada. Okay. The stock hasn't completely fallen off for some of these guys that are being pushed back because other guys in the Mets system are really making a charge towards the front. So the Mets do have pieces. Now, I don't think that there are any pieces with the Mets system and what they want to do that they can go out and make an acquisition like they did in 2015 when they brought in Yoenis Cespedes, right? But they can go out and get another good pitcher, starting pitcher. They can go out and get another good bullpen arm. And I think that they can compete. I truthfully think that they compete. Rob said it before. Christian Scott has looked good when he's been up here. He's down in the minor leagues. If Jose Quintana continues to, be up and down, if he struggles, Christian Scott's going to take his place. Okay.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for the Mets is to stay within this 1 game, 1.5, tie for first place, whatever, a tie for the wild card spot, whatever it is, they need to stay within this frame for the next several weeks so that things can come into play for the trade deadline and the Mets can assess and say, okay, can we do this? And I gotta be honest with you. Now I'm more positive Peter over here, okay? Because I actually think that they have a shot.
All right. Well, I just
Yeah,
wanted to.
last time when they were 10 games under, I checked the standings when we had an episode and they were minus 37 run differential. They're minus 18 now. They're playing better at home. They were
Also,
14
Rob,
and
the
23 and
Cardinals,
then now they're 18 and 23.
I believe do you have the standings up right now?
Yeah, yeah.
I believe the Cardinals have one of the wild card spots. What's their run differential?
Yeah, their run differential is minus 38. Look at
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So
And
there's
they're 9
definitely
and 14 against teams above 500. We're 12 and 20. All right, some kind of similar, I guess. But
that.
but again, yeah. So and the
Listen, that.
Braves are kind of cooling down.
Oh, the Braves look awful. When
I'm
it
not
cou-
saying we're gonna catch them, but again, you never know. We're 4 games under now. We were last time I checked the standings like this, we were 10 games under.
Yeah. No, he's looked terrible. He's
Mhm.
looked terrible. But the Braves would look terrible. But
Yeah.
I think that just opens the door even more. And I'm not even saying gunning for the first wild card spot, but you have a plethora of teams, and you know that some of these teams are going to fall out, whether it be the Mets or whether it be the Reds or whether it be the Nationals, a team that's within that wild card frame. You know teams are going to fall out. It's just a matter of when. But again, more teams are going to be hesitant to sell because more teams are going to wind up buying with the expanded playoffs. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But I think we can all agree some bullpen help is needed, a starting pitcher, and we need Kodai Senga to get healthy. We need him to get back on the bump so that we have another internal arm. And again, I am more positive now that I'm seeing the bats hit because they're backing up, let's say, an iffy outing from Manai or an iffy outing from McGill. They're backing them up. I just want to see it continue. So I guess that this is, Matt, last episode, the Mets were what? 9 games below 500, 10 games below 500. We put out, hey, this is what they need to do for us to be a little bit more positive. Now they're 4 games under 500. And I think we got to take it week by week now instead of just hit the sell, sell, sell button because things are getting a little bit more interesting. And I think that's why Major League Baseball instituted that extra wild card spot in order to get more fan bases involved, to get more teams involved. And we'll see. We'll see. But the Mets are definitely making it interesting. They never make you I don't even know what the word is because
Never easy, bro. It's never easy.
it's never easy. They always, yeah, I'm just curious to see if they're gonna if they're gonna spit us out. I hope they don't spit us out, at least until like
No.
August or September. You know what I'm saying? Like give us like 2 fun months, you know?
I mean, again, like I said, we're playing the easy part of our schedule. Like we got to take advantage of it. We had a tough, first 2 months of the season. Um, playing all these good teams and trying to hang around, but we'll see. Again, I think if they take 2 or 3 from the Rangers and then they go to Chicago and kind of make a statement again, then yeah.
Listen, if they go to Texas and Chicago and take 2 of 3 from both series and end up 2 games under 500, the Mets are right there.
Yeah.
The Mets are right there. And then they're also beating up on a Cubs team who is vying for a playoff spot like the
Mm.
Mets just did to the Padres. So it's only a good thing, even though it seems like when the Mets swept the Nationals, that kicked the Nationals into gear because the Nationals now are only a game under 500. So there's definitely a lot of teams that are in contention, but the Mets are right there now against. But again, the Mets are right there again after their 5-1 homestand. So the 2024 Mets continue to make all of us scratch our head, adjust our blood pressure medication, the whole
Mm.
nine. They've done everything and anything thus far this season, and we are only 70 games in. So buckle up. It should be good. Looking ahead quickly, the Mets will head to Texas tomorrow night. First pitch at 8:05, Globe Life Field, playing the defending world champions. It'll be David Peterson taking his 2-0 record. He'll be opposed by John Gray, who's been one of the only bright spots for the Rangers, who are 33 and 38. Gray is 2-2 with a 2.17 ERA. On Saturday, where am I getting that? On Tuesday, Luis Severino will take the bump against Michael Lorenzen, who the Mets could have signed. They decided not to. He has a 2.86 ERA with 47 strikeouts. He's 4-3. And then on Wednesday, 8:05, Sean Manaea will get the bump. Hopefully he goes more than 5 or 6. He'll be opposed by Andrew Heaney, who is struggling. The Mets then have a day off on Thursday before heading to Chicago to face the Cubs. And I presume that we will see Jose Quintana, Tyler McGill, and maybe Christian Scott. Not sure. Maybe David Peterson. I don't really know. I'm not looking too far ahead at that. Boys, anything else?
No.
Let's go Mets.
Good episode.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As mentioned at the beginning, be sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and X. We are at Cup of Mets. Hit thecupofmets.com to get some of your latest merch. And last but not least, be sure to download the SeatGeek app, punching code Cup of Mets at first purchase to receive $20 off. For Matthew DeSantis and Robert Venegas, I'm Ian Bosniak. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Again, guys, the Mets are hot. Hopefully they stay the course. Let's go Mets. Good night, everybody.
Let's go Mets, baby.